Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. Visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. So today we're going to continue our Diamond Stone series. This portion of the series, we're taking the stones, we're checking them for flat on the granite tile. We're looking at the surface of the stone underneath the microscope, both at high and low magnification. We're creating a burr on one of my little 3-inch Skagel slip joints in 1095. We're checking that burr out underneath the microscope just to see if we see any differences between the burrs off of different stones, which so far I can't really say that we're seeing much. We're seeing much difference. I mean, we're seeing the burr. We're seeing a difference between a heavy burr and a small burr. But as far as the burr itself, I'm not really seeing much of a difference, which is interesting, I guess, but just kind of a side little experiment inside of here. Then we're going to go ahead and complete the edge, check out the completed edge underneath the microscope. Then we're going to do a quick 50 cut rope test on the manila rope, measuring the amount of force it takes to take the first cut, the 25th cut, and the 50th cut. Then we're going to put that edge right back up underneath the microscope and see what it looks like, and then we'll do some closing thoughts, and then we'll go on to the next video. So this the Harbor Freight diamond hone block, I want to say these are insanely cheap. They're like 12, 13, 15 bucks or so off of Harbor Freight. They do come with 200 grit, 300 grit, 400 grit, and 600 grit. I bought this one on 12/4 of 2020. I really haven't used it very much. I want to say I used it once or twice, like seriously, on the 200 grit side, because it feels pretty smooth. To see if you could flatten out your silicon carbide sharpening stones, and you could. It worked really good for that. The main thing that I use these stones for is the crap work that you don't want to use your good stones for. So flattening water stones, you know, you can spend an awful lot of money on a really nice diamond plate to flatten a water stone. To me, that seems a little weird. Okay, I mean, why on earth would you spend, you know, $100 on a diamond surface plate to rub it against a rock when you could spend $15 on a surface plate to rub up against a rock? You know, I guess everybody's got their thing, but I'd rather do a water stone with an inexpensive diamond stone like this, especially one that's got the scallops, because when you're doing that, you do create an awful lot of mud, and that mud gets caught by these scallops really, really well. And the scallops on these stones are really, really deep. I mean, comparatively speaking to the other ones. But anyway, as a sharpening stone, we are going to work with a 300 grit side, because that's as close to 325 as what there is. So that's the side that we're going to work on. And we're going to check it for flat. So we're going to, you know, brush it off with the palm of my hand. Put that 300 grit side down on the plate, or the diamond, or the granite tile. I'm shooting an awful lot of these videos today, so maybe I'm getting a little bit tired. I think this is the 4th or the 5th one today. And I've talked more this afternoon than I probably will in the next 3 or 4 days. Okay, so we've got our feeler gauges. The brass one is 10 thousandths. The silver one, this particular one, is 3 thousandths. So you can tell right off the bat it's going in considerably on that back corner. The 10,000 grit side, or 10,000th side, is trying to, but it's not really going. You can see how the whole thing is wobbling though. Now on this side, the 3 thousandths goes into that corner. So does the 10 thousandths. The 3 thousandths will slip all the way in here in the middle. Slip all the way in again. The 10 thousandths will slip in quite a ways. 3 thousandths won't go in on that side. It's going in all the way on that side. And the 10 thousandths is trying not to. So as far as flat and stones go, I'm actually kind of surprised that it is that flat. I mean, for as little money as you spend, well, you know what? No, let's check out another side. What side should we check out? So the 200 grit side is pretty well stripped of the diamonds. We just did the 300 grit side. How about we do the 600 grit side? You know, so far the 600 grit side is considerably flatter than the 300 grit side. No, there's one spot that it could go through. And that back corner is. So 3/1000 one goes in easy. You know, that's a whole lot better than what I was expecting. Okay, now let's take a look at the stone. We're probably going to have to move the microscope up and down a little bit, or the stand, because this is such a thick diameter stone compared to the other ones. So let's back it out. Oh, and the camera turned off. All right. And that's what we're seeing for diamonds here. Now these big old flat spots right here, I can't really tell if those are flattened diamonds, or if they're stripped diamonds, or if they were spots where the diamond coating just didn't get put on. Now this part right here is pretty interesting, because on the other interrupted stones, I can really feel, you know, the edge catching the edges of these scallops. From what I remember on this Harbor Freight one, I didn't feel it quite so much. But you can see right here how those diamonds are actually adhered to the side of the inside of the scallops. It's almost like, and I'd really be interested, you know, I might take the older one I have of these and just pop it off of the plastic, and I wonder if the backside might have diamonds on it too. That'd be kind of an interesting thing to see. I'm not too sure if I would do a video on that, or just do it and then let you know if I saw it or not. But this right here, it does look like that diamond coating goes around the edge of the scallops, which is pretty cool. All right, now let's get a little bit closer look. Now right there, can you guys see that right there? You can definitely tell those diamonds do wrap around the edge of those scallops. Yep, right there, big time. You can see that they're wrapped around. Now remember, these things that we're seeing, we're kind of looking at them on edge, so it'll be kind of tough to get a closer look at that part. But that's probably why you know, you don't have that little catching feeling when you sharpen on this scallops versus the other ones. So now let's take a look at the surface. Now that right there is kind of wild, because this looks an awful lot like what the surface of an Arkansas stone looks like. So yeah, I'm wondering if these flat spots here, I mean, you can see some of the points of the diamonds coming up in, like especially up in here, but these flat spots right here, I kind of, oh, that's all right. So here you can see the diamond sticking up. I wonder if this part just isn't in focus as much. But see, you can see the diamond sticking up here, and you can see the sub, you know, whatever it is that the diamond is bonded to the metal underneath there. This is kind of a sparse sparse number of diamonds compared to the other stones that we've looked at, which kind of makes sense. I mean, you can't imagine that they're going to throw as many diamonds on the top of an $11 stone or a $15 stone as they would on a $50 stone. You know, they just, there wouldn't be enough money at $11 price point to afford to be able to put that many diamonds on there. But that's really interesting. Let's see if we can kind of change the focus a little bit. Oh yeah, that's exactly what that looks like. Yep, those are the diamonds sticking up, and this is the surface of the plate. Yeah, there for a while, and it still kind of does look like an Arkansas stone. Huh, that's pretty wild. Okay, so now let's take my little pocket knife here, and on the 300 grit side, I think we raised the burr initially on this side last time, so we'll raise it on this side this time. But see, when I mean, I've had the stone for a long time, but I really haven't used it. And you can tell those diamonds feel pretty aggressive. But as that blade is coming over, it's not really catching on those scallops as much. Of course, now we know that the scallops are plated inside of them with the diamond, which is an interesting feature. Okay, there's our burr. Now we're going to have to bring the whole body of the scope down. Okay, there's our burr right there, and it is real little. Ah, there it is. It was real little towards, no, that's still, there. Okay, so the burr scraped up some of the skin off of my palm. That's why you got all this fuzziness right in here, but the burr is kind of right behind it. And it looks a little jagged. Yeah, now remember, this scratch pattern is from the prior stone because we only worked on the other side to make that burr come this way. So now let's go ahead and finish off the edge. That's the 300 grit side. Now, here's a thought. So when somebody asks what kind of angle are you sharpening at, if that right there is the blade bevel, just enough to clear that finish is pretty much the angle that you want to use for sharpening, at least to start with. Then if you find you're getting a lot of edge damage and the edge isn't stable at that thin of an edge, then raise it up just a hair more. That's how you find your sharpening angles. Now we got the burr on that side. So now let's start refining it. Okay, now take off any trash off of it. Now we're gonna, if that's the edge or the blade bevels, that's the angle that we were sharpening at. That's going to be the angle that we're going to shear the burr off with. One more. No, maybe. There we go. Now let's get it somewhere where we can't get, there we go. Now that's actually a pretty nice even scratch pattern going on there. We've got a couple of them that are a little bit heavier, you know, than the rest of them, but overall it looks pretty nice. The edge itself looks nice and even. You can see we've got our serrations are in there and they all look pretty good. You can't really see the micro bevel all that much. Let's kind of rotate it. Yeah, you can't really see the micro bevel angle very much, which is interesting. But you can see that edge looks really, really good, and our teeth look in pretty good shape too. So now let's do a quick cut test. Okay, we need to get rid of the last bit of rope and grab a fresh piece. All right, so it's about 4 or 5 pounds holding the hand, the rope, and the wood block against the bathroom scale. That was about 15, 15, 16, 16, which is kind of surprising. That's the most force we've had to put on a stone to make the first cut. So 16. Oh, now we're going to do 20 cuts. So that was 1. That's 20. Whoa, 18. 19. 19. 19. That's pretty tough. I kind of wonder if that was pretty interesting. So let's go another 20. Okay, so now this will be about the 50th cut. Oh, right at 20. Right at 20. Right at 20. That's kind of interesting that we had that much. You know, let's do that again. I kind of wonder since those results were so much different than the other ones, let's do that again. Let's put a fresh edge on it. Okay, let's shear the burr off. It's taken an extra stroke or two to take the burr off. Now let's do that rope cutting test again, just to rule out, you know, just to rule out a bad edge. Okay, so the first cut, that's 5 pounds or so. 14, 15, 15, 15, 14. That's way better. So let's go 15. Okay, now this will be about the 25th cut. 18 or so. 20. 20. 19. 19. Now that's pretty interesting because that's following the same way as the first test went. Now we're going to do another 20 cuts. Okay, now we'll 20, 20, 18, 20, 20. All right, now let's take a look at the edge underneath the scope again. Now, see, so there's a little bit of dust or my skin from cleaning off the edge. The scratch pattern looks shined up, but there's an awful lot more flecks of white in here, which kind of makes me wonder if these diamonds are not as sharp as the other ones, and that's why we're not getting the same quality of tooth on our edge. And see, some of these look kind of bent over a little bit, which if the diamonds weren't as sharp, then they probably wouldn't have sheared the burr off near as well as if they were sharper. Maybe. But I know we weren't seeing edges like this with the other stones so far, especially right in here. Right up in here kind of looks, well, this kind of sort of looks normal, but this right here doesn't, and this stuff right in here doesn't either. Let's look at a different portion of the edge. Yeah, this part kind of looks about the same. That's interesting. And see an awful lot of the more of the white flecks in here too. It's kind of making me think that those diamonds aren't, I mean, they're cutting aggressively, but you know, this right here is stuff that we really can't see. At least I can't see with my microscope, even if I'm looking through the lenses and not through the TV, is, you know, really examine each serration on the edge. But that is interesting. I mean, we did 2 cut tests back to back, you know, with 2 different edges, or 2, you know, sharpened it twice and got pretty much the same result. So that's pretty interesting. Now, the stone itself, I'm still going to keep buying these things. Even if the diamonds aren't quite as sharp as the other stones, there's a couple of things about this stone that I really, really like. One, the $12, $13 that you pay for it, and you get 4 surfaces, okay? That is, you know, for a stone that you use when you don't want to mess up your good stones, and especially at that price point, that is really, really nice. The fact that it's thick, it's nice and easy to hold on to, you know, when you're resurfacing your water stones. That's really nice. The fact that you can get them all over the place, that's really nice. So this stone right here, even if that is the case and the diamonds aren't quite as sharp as some of the other diamonds, I'm still going to keep buying the things and suggesting folks to buy them, because especially if you're a beginning sharpener, I've been sharpening for a long time. So for me to hold a stone like that in such a manner that I can sharpen without slicing off the tips of my fingers doesn't really bother me all that much. Something like these little bitty gun show stones, you guys saw in the unboxing video, it's really kind of tough to get that, you know, even for me, there's just not very much to hold on to there. Unless you hold way back here and you just use the first 2/3 of the stones, and then you swap it around and do it again. This, you can wrap your whole dang hand around that and keep your fingertips way underneath there, and they're really, really easy, you know, to work with. And I think a lot of beginners would really like that. And then, you know, if you're using way too much pressure and you strip the diamonds out, well, then go to a different surface. And then, you know, keep doing that until, you know, it finally clicks and you learn how to sharpen really good. So these stones right here, I think, are still a heck of a good value. I think as soon as I shut the camera off, I am going to go pry off one of these plates on my other diamond, other Harbor Freight one, and see what's on the underside, because it's pretty well worn out. But again, Harbor Freight stone, great value, even if the diamonds might not be as sharp as the other stones. Again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.